The cold wind of the alien world bit through Aaron Holt's torn armor. The battlefield around him silent now, filled with the smell of ash and burned metal. Human soldiers had fallen one by one under the endless assault of the Vorthian Empire, until only he remained, surrounded by glowing spears and tall figures with skin like liquid silver. They called him the last human of the raid, and dragged him before their ruler, the alien queen of Vorthia. The throne room was vast, alive, pulsing with strange light. The walls were made of veins of crystal that seemed to breathe. At the center sat the queen, her eyes burning like molten gold. Her crown was not made of metal, but of living tendrils that shimmered with energy. Aaron stood before her, chained, broken, but still standing straight. "You are human," the queen said slowly, her voice echoing like thunder and music together. "The creature from the Deathworld," Aaron lifted his chin. "And you are the one who started this war." Gasps filled the hall. No one had ever spoken to the queen like that. Not even her generals, she smiled faintly. A cold and dangerous smile. "Bravery or foolishness? I cannot tell," she said, "but your kind is interesting." She rose from her throne and walked toward him. Her steps were silent, her gown flowing like smoke. "You destroyed my outposts, burned my harvest moons, and yet you fight as if you wish to die," she said. Aaron's voice was steady. "We fight because we must survive." The queen tilted her head, studying him. "Survive," she repeated. "Then perhaps that is what you shall do," the court murmured in confusion. The queen turned to her guards. "Take him to the starlit chamber," she ordered. "If he survives the night with my daughter, his life and his planet shall be spared." The hall went silent. Even the guards looked uncertain. Survive the night with her daughter. The words sounded simple, but everyone in that room knew it was not. The queen's daughter, Princess Lyra, was not a being of mercy or peace. She was a hybrid of ancient power and dark science, half living, half weapon. Aaron was dragged through long tunnels of glowing stone, the air humming with energy. When the guards opened the final gate, he saw the chamber, large and beautiful, but also strange and alive. The floor seemed to breathe, and the walls shimmered with patterns like eyes watching him. "Enter," one guard said with fear in his voice, "and may your gods remember you." As the doors closed behind him, Aaron looked around. The light was dim, shifting like moonlight underwater. The air felt heavy, almost too thick to breathe. Then he heard a voice, soft but sharp like crystal. "So, you are the human." He turned and his heart froze from the shadows. She stepped forward, Princess Lyra. Her skin shimmered faintly, pale blue with streaks of silver. Her eyes glowed like distant stars, and her hair flowed like liquid metal. She looked young, almost fragile. But there was something terrifying about her presence. "You should not have accepted my mother's challenge," she said quietly, walking in circles around him. "No one survives the night with me." Aaron met her gaze. "Then I'll be the first." Her lips curved slightly. "Not in kindness, but in curiosity. Why do you want to live so much?" She asked. "Your world is far, your people are dead, what is left to fight for?" He answered simply, "Hope." Lyra stopped, her eyes narrowing. "Hope?" she whispered, as if tasting the word for the first time. Then the floor beneath Aaron's feet began to shift, spikes of glowing crystal rising like blades. He jumped back, rolling aside. The spikes missed him by inches. Lyra watched with silent interest. "Good reflexes," she said. "Maybe you will last longer than the others." The air shimmered again, and a creature formed from the light itself, a beast of bone and fire. Roaring, its claws slashed toward Aaron. He grabbed a broken spear from the ground and rolled forward, jamming it into the creature's chest. The weapon cracked, but the light beast howled and dissolved into sparks. Aaron panted, sweat dripping down his face. "That all you've got?" Lyra tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "Not yet," she said softly, and the chamber darkened. The temperature dropped. His breath turning to frost, whispers filled the air. Voices of the dead. The screams of his fallen friends. He tried to block them out, his mind shaking under the weight of fear. He remembered their faces, their last words, and the promise he made, to never give up no matter what. Lyra stepped closer, her glowing eyes inches from his. "You see ghosts," she said. "They break most minds," Aaron whispered. "Not mine," and stared back at her. For the first time, she hesitated. Her expression softened, just a flicker. "Strange," she said. "You are not like them." The chamber fell quiet again, only the faint hum of energy in the air. Lyra studied him longer, then turned away. Rest while you can, she said. The night has only begun. Aaron leaned against the wall, exhausted but alive. The light in the chamber dimmed until only her glowing outline was visible. He could feel her watching him, silently, curiously, as if she could not decide whether to kill him or understand him. As his eyes grew heavy, he thought of Earth, of blue skies and home, and whispered to himself, "I will survive this night." From across the room, Lyra's voice echoed softly, "We shall see. Human." And in that moment, something ancient and powerful stirred in the air. Something neither of them could yet understand. The chamber was silent except for the steady hum that came from the glowing walls. Aaron woke to find the alien light brighter now, its patterns moving like slow fire across the crystal surface. His armor was still cracked, his body aching, but he was alive. He breathed carefully, the air still heavy and strange, tasting like metal and ozone. From the far side of the room, Princess Lyra stood near a pool of liquid light, her reflection shimmering beneath her feet. She looked at him with calm, distant eyes. "You are still breathing," she said softly. "Most don't make it through the first hour." Aaron pushed himself up. "Guess humans are stubborn." Her lips twitched. Almost a smile, but it faded as quickly as it came. "You shouldn't confuse stubbornness with strength," she said. "My world doesn't forgive weakness." She turned and motioned toward the glowing pool. The surface rippled, revealing scenes. Humans fighting Vorthians. Planets burning. Ships exploding in silence. "Your kind destroys everything it touches," Lyra said. "Why should I spare you?" Aaron stared at the images, his jaw tight. "Because destruction isn't all we do," he said. "We build, we protect, we care for each other. That's what makes us human." Lyra looked at him for a long moment, her glowing eyes softer now. "Care," she repeated slowly. "Strange word. We don't have one that means the same." She reached out toward the pool, and suddenly the images changed, showing her as a child surrounded by scientists, machines connecting to her body, her face young, scared, alone. Aaron saw her flinch and step back. "That's you," he said quietly. Her voice turned cold. "It doesn't matter." "It does," he replied. "You weren't born to be a weapon, were you?" Lyra's glow dimmed slightly. "I was made to protect my people," she said, "but they only ever feared me." Before Aaron could speak again, the chamber shook violently, the walls rippled, and cracks of energy opened around them. From those cracks crawled creatures of light and shadow, their forms twisting, claws gleaming. Lyra raised her hand, and the room froze. The monsters hovered mid-air. Trembling, she looked back at him. "They come when I lose control," she said. "They feed on fear, both yours and mine." Aaron reached for the broken spear he'd kept. "Then we fight together." Lyra gave him a strange look. "Together," she whispered, as if testing the word. Then the air exploded with movement. The beasts attacked. Light and shadow merging into deadly shapes, Aaron swung the spear. His human strength pushed to its limit under the heavy gravity. Lyra moved like lightning, her wings unfolding from her back, metallic, radiant, each feather a blade. Together they fought, their attacks in rhythm, one instinct answering another, when the last creature shattered into dust. The floor went still. Aaron dropped to one knee. Gasping, his vision blurred, but he saw Lyra's face, tired, her glow dimmer now. "You risked yourself for me," she said quietly. "Why?" He smiled faintly. "Because that's what humans do." She turned away, whispering almost to herself, "No one has ever done that for me." The silence that followed was heavy, but not hostile. Lyra moved toward him, her steps careful, her wings folded, disappearing back beneath her skin. "Your heart rate is irregular," she said. "Your body is collapsing under our gravity." "I'll manage, Yen," he said, forcing a grin. "You shouldn't," she replied. "But you will." She extended her hand, light glowing faintly around it. "Let me adjust your body's rhythm," she said. "It will help you survive longer." Aaron hesitated, but something in her voice felt sincere. He nodded slowly. Her fingers touched his neck, cold and electric. A pulse of energy spread through his body, pain at first, then warmth. His breath steadied, his heartbeat strong again. Lyra stepped back, watching him curiously. "You adapt fast," she said. "It's impressive." "Humans are good at adapting," he said. "That's how we survive." She looked down, her voice almost a whisper. "Maybe that's why my mother fears your kind." The walls around them began to glow again, brighter than before. Shifting colors like a living heartbeat, Lyra frowned. The chamber reacts to emotion, she said. It senses connection. Aaron raised an eyebrow. Connection? Her cheeks glowed faintly. It's nothing, she said quickly, turning away. Minutes passed in silence, the hum soft, peaceful almost. But then the Queen's voice echoed through the chamber. Distant yet sharp. The human still lives? How curious, Lyra froze, the glow in her eyes flickering. The voice continued. Let him see the moonrise, daughter, and then end his test. Lyra closed her eyes, her hands trembling slightly. She's watching us, she said. She expects me to kill you before dawn. Aaron stood, his voice calm. Then she'll be disappointed. Lyra looked at him, her expression torn between duty and something else. You don't understand. If I defy her, we both die. Then let's make sure she doesn't find out, Aaron said with a grin that made her blink in disbelief. For the first time in her life, someone spoke to her not as a weapon or a threat, but as an equal. She felt something inside her chest shift, an unfamiliar ache that wasn't fear or anger. The lights dimmed again, marking the second phase of the night. Outside, alien storms raged, lightning arcing across the purple sky. Inside, two beings, one human, one alien, stood side by side, bound by a challenge neither of them yet understood. Lyra's gaze lingered on him as she whispered, The night is not over. Human, Aaron replied, steady and certain. Neither am I. Somewhere deep beneath the Queen's palace, ancient sensors flickered to life, detecting a strange pulse of energy between human and hybrid. The system recorded it with a single phrase, synchronization detected. The hours of the night stretched long under the strange twin moons of Vorthia. The chamber's light shifted to deep blue like an endless ocean. Aaron sat near the wall, catching his breath. The wounds from the earlier fight slowly healing under the effect of Lyra's energy. She stood near the glowing pool again, her reflection moving on the surface like another being watching her from below. You still look at me as if I'm one of you, she said quietly. Not turning around, Aaron replied, his voice low. You bleed, you think, you feel. That's enough to be alive, Lyra gave a soft, bitter laugh. Alive, she said. I was not born human. I was designed. She turned toward him, her silver blue eyes calm but full of pain. I am half synthetic. My bones are crystal. My blood is plasma. My heart runs on what your kind would call fusion. My mother's scientist built me to be the perfect soldier, but I was too unstable. My power destroys everything it touches. Aaron watched her in silence, seeing not a monster but a prisoner. And she still made you fight for her, he said. Lyra nodded slowly. Every victory for the Queen was another wound for me. Each time I unleashed my core energy, a part of me burned away. That is why she gave you this test. Human, she wanted you to die by my hand, not by her order. Aaron clenched his fists. So she wants to prove humanity weak and you loyal. Lyra looked down. Yes, but something changed when you survived. I do not understand it yet. Suddenly the walls of the chamber pulsed violently. Lights flashing red, the Queen's voice boomed through the crystal hallways. Daughter, control your core or the palace will collapse, Lyra gasped, falling to one knee, her hands clutching her chest. Energy flared from her back, bright white arcs tearing through the floor. Aaron rushed forward, shielding his eyes from the burning light. Lyra, he shouted, what's happening? Her voice broke. My core is unstable. The night's trials are feeding it. I cannot control. Aaron grabbed a damaged energy stabilizer from a fallen weapon nearby. His engineering instincts from Earth's Space Corps came alive. Hold on, I can help you. You cannot, she cried. Your human body will burn if you get too close. Then I'll burn, he said simply and stepped into the storm. The heat hit him like fire and lightning together, but he pushed forward, wrapping the stabilizer's cables around the glowing crystal embedded in her chest. Sparks flew as the device overloaded. He adjusted the frequency manually, guessing by instinct and memory. The light dimmed slowly until it settled into a calm pulse. Lyra's breathing steadied, the glow of her eyes soft again. She looked up at him, disbelief in her voice. You balanced my core, no Vorthian ever could. Aaron smiled weakly. Guess human stubbornness is good for something. She touched his hand, her fingers trembling. You risked your life for me again. That's what allies do, he said. Her expression softened for the first time, showing warmth. Allies, she repeated quietly. I never had one. Now you do, Aaron said, His voice firm, but their moment was short-lived. The Queen's voice echoed again, cold and furious. You interfered, human. You dare touch what belongs to me? The floor trembled and massive energy conduits above them opened. Releasing blinding light, Lyra looked up in horror. She's trying to overload the chamber. She wants to destroy both of us. Aaron grabbed her arm. Then we move, now. They ran through the shifting corridors, the walls alive and hostile. Energy waves chased them, melting the floor behind. Lyra led him toward a sealed gateway covered in ancient runes. This portal leads beyond the citadel, she said. But it was forbidden to open. Aaron looked at her. You have any better plan? Her eyes narrowed, a mix of fear and determination. No, human. I do not. She raised her hand and released a burst of pure white light. The runes cracked and the gate began to open. The air howled as dimensional energy poured out. Beyond the gate was a vast storm of stars, swirling like a living nebula. Before they could step through, the Queen appeared as a holographic projection before them, her eyes burning brighter than ever. You disappoint me, daughter, she said. You let the human corrupt your purpose? Lyra stood tall, her voice shaking but firm. He showed me mercy, something you never did. Mercy, the Queen hissed. His weakness and weakness dies. She raised her hand, sending a beam of red energy through the hologram, hitting the gate's control crystals. The portal began to collapse. Lyra turned to Aaron. We must stabilize it from both sides or it will destroy us. Aaron nodded without hesitation. Tell me what to do. She guided him to the auxiliary node. Match the frequency to mine, but do not let it exceed 9.2 teracycles or... He interrupted with a grin. It'll explode, got it. Even in that moment, she almost smiled again. Together they stabilized the portal, their hands glowing with blue-white energy. The Queen's projection flickered, her voice furious. If you step through, I will hunt you across the stars. Lyra met her gaze one last time. Then you'll have to catch us first. The gate burst open in a storm of light, and the two figures jumped through as the chamber collapsed behind them. They landed hard on a rocky plain under a sky filled with broken moons. The air was thin but breathable. Aaron coughed, helping Lyra stand. Where are we? She looked around, her eyes glowing softly. Somewhere the Queen cannot reach easily. But she will come, she always does. Aaron smiled faintly. Then we'll be ready. Lyra turned toward him, her face calm, her voice low. You are not what I expected, human. You were supposed to die tonight instead. You've changed everything. A distant thunder rolled across the alien horizon. The sound of engines, Vorthian ships searching already. The night was not over. And dawn would bring more than just light. It would bring war. The wind howled across the broken plains, carrying dust that shimmered faintly under the light of Vorthia's twin moons. Aaron and Lyra stood near the edge of a jagged cliff, the ruins of an old outpost flickering in the distance. The sky glowed with the reflection of searchlights, the Queen's forces already sweeping the area. We don't have long, Lyra said, her eyes scanning the horizon. Her hunters move faster than light once they have our trace. Aaron adjusted the damaged armor on his chest. Then we stay ahead of them, he said calmly. Lyra looked at him, almost amused. You talk like escaping the Queen's reach is simple. He shrugged. Simple's not the same as impossible. A faint smile touched her lips before she turned serious again. There's an old transport hub beneath these rocks. It was sealed after the First War. If we can reach its reactor, we might open a wormhole to the outer systems, Aaron nodded. Lead the way, princess. She frowned slightly. Don't call me that. I stopped being a princess the moment I ran. Then what should I call you? He asked. She paused, her voice softer. Just Lyra. They moved quickly through the rough terrain, the alien night alive with distant growls and flashes of red light from scout drones. Aaron's breathing grew heavy under the crushing gravity, but he pushed through, refusing to slow down. Lyra glanced at him, the faint glow from her eyes reflecting in his visor. You're weakening, she said. Not yet, he replied. You'll know when I'm done. She tilted her head slightly. Humans truly don't understand limits, and suddenly, a roar echoed from behind them. A swarm of metallic creatures, half drone, half beast, emerged from the ridge, their bodies glinting under moonlight. Vorthian trackers, Lyra said sharply. They can smell quantum residue. Aaron pulled out a plasma rifle from the wreckage nearby. Checking the charge, you take the right. I'll distract the rest. Lyra's eyes widened. You can't fight them alone. He grinned. Good thing I'm not alone. They moved in sync without words. Aaron firing bursts of plasma while Lyra unleashed waves of pure energy, her wings spreading like blades of light. The beasts shrieked and shattered, but more kept coming, crawling over each other like a living storm. Aaron reloaded fast, his muscles screaming from exhaustion. There's too many. Lyra slammed her palms together, the ground shaking. Then we end it, she shouted, unleashing a blinding sphere of energy that tore through the air. The explosion knocked them both off their feet, and for a long moment there was nothing but silence. When Aaron opened his eyes, the night was quiet again. Lyra stood over him, her glow dim, her face pale. That power, she whispered. It's eating me alive. Aaron pushed himself up. Then stop using it. She shook her head. If I don't, we die. If I do, I die. He looked straight into her eyes. Not tonight. You won't. They reached the old transport hub just before dawn, a massive underground structure hidden beneath layers of rock. Aaron forced open the hatch while Lyra stabilized the power core with her remaining energy. Inside, old machinery hummed faintly, waiting to wake. This place is older than both our empires, Lyra said softly, tracing her fingers across alien symbols. It belonged to the first ones. They built portals before even my mother's kind learned to walk. Aaron inspected the console. Think we can make it work? She hesitated. If I merge with the reactor core, yes. But the energy surge might destroy me. Aaron frowned. That's not an option. She met his gaze, her expression calm. It's the only one. Before he could argue, a blast shook the ceiling. Dust rained down as ships descended outside. The Queen's voice thundered through the speakers. Daughter, enough running, return and I may forgive you, Lyra whispered. She's here. Aaron turned to her. Then we finish this fast. She placed her hands on the reactor, light spreading from her palms through the circuits. The entire chamber came alive, the portal gate began to spin, its rings humming with blinding energy. Aaron watched as her body glowed brighter, her voice shaking. The coordinates are set to a dead moon near the rim. That's far enough, he said. Now stop before you— I can't, she gasped. It's too late. The door behind them exploded open, the Queen herself stepping through, her armor radiating gold. You defy me for a human? She shouted. You shame our blood, Lyra screamed as the energy overloaded, the reactor glowing white-hot. Aaron ran to her side, grabbing her shoulders. You're not alone, you hear me? The Queen raised her hand to strike, but the portal erupted. The blast threw everyone backward, light swallowing the room. When the noise faded, the chamber was empty. Only burned symbols on the floor remained. The Queen looked around, her eyes wide. No, she hissed. She took him with her. On the other side of the portal, Aaron awoke under a pale sky, the ground cracked and silent. Lyra lay beside him, motionless but alive. He touched her cheek gently. We made it, her eyes flickered open weakly. You shouldn't have stayed. Not really my style, he said, trying to smile. The planet around them was barren, but peaceful, no ships, no lights, only the sound of soft wind. Lyra sat up slowly, her wings folding behind her. She'll come for us, she whispered. Aaron looked at the horizon. Then she'll find we're not easy to kill. For the first time, Lyra smiled, a real one, faint but real. You're impossible, human, she said softly. He chuckled. That's what they all say. The faint light of dawn touched their faces as the portal's last sparks faded into the wind. Far away, beyond the stars, the Queen watched the readings from her throne, her voice a cold whisper. Let them run. They will not escape forever. And on that distant dead world, as the sun rose over ruins and dust, a human and an alien weapon stood together, fugitives of two worlds bound by something stronger than fear. The sun rose slowly over the cracked horizon of the dead moon, painting the gray rocks in shades of gold and silver. Aaron sat beside a small campfire made from wrecked equipment. His face tired but peaceful, Lyra sat a few feet away, her eyes watching the sunrise as if she had never seen one before. The light reflected softly off her metallic skin. Warm for the first time, it's beautiful, she said quietly. Our suns were always red and cruel, this one feels gentle. Aaron smiled faintly. Maybe because it's free like us. She turned to him, a small hint of confusion in her voice. Free, she repeated. I never understood that word before. Freedom was always something my mother gave or took away. Aaron looked at her. Then you're learning what it really means. For a long moment there was peace. The winds were soft, the air thin but calm. Then a faint pulse shook the ground. Distant but unmistakable, Lyra's expression hardened. She found us. Aaron stood, scanning the horizon. How far? Too close, she said. Her fleet will breach this atmosphere within an hour. He checked his weapon, half broken, battery almost empty. So what's the plan? Lyra's voice dropped low. I can end this. If I release my core completely, the energy wave will destroy her ships before they land. Aaron's heart sank. You'll die. She met his eyes steadily. If I don't, she'll wipe out every human colony in revenge. This is the only way. He shook his head, stepping closer. You don't have to do this. We'll find another way, we always do. Her expression softened, a trace of sadness in her glowing eyes. You don't understand, human. I was created to be a weapon. Maybe this is the only good thing my power can do. Aaron's voice hardened. No, you were created to destroy, but you chose to protect. That's what makes you different. For a moment, she said nothing, then her gaze dropped. You always talk as if choice can change fate. It can, Aaron said. I've seen it happen. I've lived it. The faint hum of engines began to echo through the air. Black specks appearing in the sky. Forthian dreadships descending like silent birds of death. Lyra closed her eyes, light gathering around her body. Her wings unfolded brighter than ever. When my energy peaks, get as far from me as you can. Aaron grabbed her wrist firmly. Not happening. She stared at him. You'll die. Then I'll die beside you, he said simply. Her voice trembled. Why do you care so much? We were enemies. Aaron smiled softly. Because somewhere between fighting and surviving, you stopped being my enemy. Something in those words broke the last wall in her heart. The light around her dimmed slightly, flickering like a heartbeat. Aaron, she whispered, if I survive this, the Queen's bond to me will be gone. I'll be free. But you... He placed a hand on her cheek, his voice gentle. You'll live. That's all that matters. She nodded slowly, her wings spreading wide as she rose into the air. Her voice echoed like a song filled with sorrow and power. Then let the galaxy remember that even a weapon can choose mercy. The sky exploded with white light. The Queen's fleet entered the atmosphere, their shields flaring against the surge. Lyra's power grew until the ground cracked beneath Aaron's feet. The world itself seemed to hold its breath. Aaron felt the heat against his skin, his armor burning, but he didn't move. He watched her silhouette high above, bright, radiant, defiant. Then, in a flash brighter than a sun, the energy burst outward. The wave hit the fleet like a storm of light, tearing through ships and engines. The sky turned pure white, then silence, only the sound of falling dust. When the light faded, Aaron lay on the ground, his body weak, the air still glowing faintly around him. He turned his head slowly and saw her, Lyra, collapsed nearby, her body still. The light gone from her eyes. He crawled to her, every breath a struggle. Lyra, he whispered. Wake up. He placed his hand over her heart, feeling nothing at first, then a faint pulse, so weak it barely existed without thinking. He pressed his own chest unit against hers, transferring the last of his suit's power directly into her biocore. The energy drained fast, his vision dimming, but he didn't stop. Don't you dare give up, he murmured. You're more human than you think. A flash of light filled his hand, her heart restarting. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly. Aaron, what did you do? He smiled weakly. Just kept my promise. You can't... He chuckled softly, his voice fading. Guess I finally survived the night. She caught him as his strength left, tears falling from her glowing eyes. No, she whispered. Don't leave me now. But his eyes closed peacefully, the faintest smile still on his lips. Above them, the sky cleared. No more ships, no more thunder, only quiet dawn. Lyra held him for a long time before standing, looking at the horizon where the sun rose once again. Back on Vorthia, the Queen sat upon her throne, surrounded by silence. Her generals knelt in fear as she whispered to herself. He gave her mercy. And I took it for granted. She closed her eyes, sending a single command through the network. Cease hostilities against Earth across the galaxy. Humans and aliens alike would later tell the story of the human who faced the alien Queen's daughter and survived the night. A story not of conquest or war, but of mercy, and the bond that changed two worlds forever. Lyra's voice, soft as wind, carried through the dawn. You showed me hope, human, and now I will carry it for both of us. And as the first true light of peace touched the barren moon, the legend of the Queen's mercy was born.